Hey, Year 4!
It's summer term 2.
Check out the amazing stuff we have planned for you.
This week in Spanish, you are going to listen to the story of the tortoise and the hare. What words sound familiar to you? Does anything sound the same in English? Like rapido? What do you think that means? Listen to the story several times and try to tell the story to some of your family members. It's a great story with lots and lots of changes. Enjoy!
Last week in art, you created your own miniature teepees, and I'm sure that they were absolutely excellent. This week, we would like you to use that knowledge and those skills to make your very own teepee that you could fit inside and relax in. Try finding material around your house, like a sheet or a blanket to help you, and try to remember the triangular shape of the teepee. What materials could you find around your house to help you with this shape? Enjoy!
As we continue on with the Wolves of Curranpore, you should be starting to understand each of the characters who are in the book. You can then look back over the different events that have happened so far, and use those in order to write yourself a diary. This diary entry will be written from the point of view of one of the characters, Seaton, and this diary entry will be his reflection as to what has happened. It should discuss how he is feeling about the different events that have taken place, and what his opinions are. Make sure you use evidence from the text to explain why. For your second task, you will need to create a persuasive poster, so using all of those persuasive techniques that you've been practicing. Think about how you could include the power of 3, perhaps a rhetorical question, or even some emotive language in order to help people understand why they should protect and save the remaining number of wolves. You can either create your poster by hand, or you could use a computer. And if you did use a computer, you could then put some pictures in it, or even play about with different fonts to make things stand out from each other. A third task is to create a pictorial glossary. This should be to explain some of the tricky words. There's lots of information on the slide to help you. Make sure your picture is clear, so that anybody who looks at your glossary could understand what each of the words mean. Your pictures should be very clear. And finally, we want you to respond to a statement which we have given on the PowerPoint using point, evidence and explain, or we like to call it P. Make sure you do make your point, give some evidence and then explain it further.
With school still being closed and with all of us spending more and more time at home, it's more important than ever that we continue moving and to stay healthy and positive. These Joe Wicks videos are an amazing tool to help us feel happier, more energized, and more optimistic. So have lots of fun with them.
The Rainbow Serpent, which is a story based on the traditional Aboriginal Dreamtime story involving the rainbow serpent. This week, we would like you to read and answer the questions about this incredible story. If you're looking for a challenge or more books to read, check out the Oxford Owl free books. It's an online database full of incredible and interesting books.
This week in art, we would like you to choose your very own spirit animal. We would like you to design and create your own painting or drawing of that animal. I want you to think very carefully about why you're choosing this animal and how does it represent you. For example, choosing a wolf may represent strength. So get creative, use your researching skills with this task.
Conductors allow.
Conductors allow
Energy to flow.
energy to flow.
Could be electric.
Could be electric.
Could be thermal.
Could be thermal.
Ooh, ooh.
Ooh, ooh.
Insulators stop.
Insulators stop.
They block the flow.
They block the flow.
Yo.
Yo.
This week in science, we're looking at conductors and insulators. Using the PowerPoint in the folder, take this time to learn new information about items and materials around your house that might be conductors or insulators. Take what you know and try and write an explanation and make what makes a good conductor and what makes a good insulator.
Well done to each of you who are continuing to practice your times table rock stars. It's amazing to see how hard you're working on them. In maths this week, what you're going to be looking at is tenths and decimals. You're going to be working on trying to convert them from one to the other. Tenths and decimals are very similar, so something to think about is 1/10 is the same as 0.1. If you have a place value chart, you can see this very clearly. So if we're thinking about this in terms of perhaps a pizza, if I had one pizza as my whole and I split that pizza into 10 equal parts, then if I ate one slice, I would be eating 1/10, which I can either write as a fraction, as 1/10, or I could write it as a decimal, as 0.1. Either way, I've eaten one slice of my pizza, which was split into 10 equal parts, so I have eaten 1/10. So, if I was feeling extra hungry and I ate 5 slices out of my pizza, which I'd already split into 10 equal parts, then I would be having 5/10, or 5/10 if I write it as a fraction, or 0.5 if I wrote it as a decimal. Now remember, 5/10 is also the equivalent fraction of 1/2. So I can have that written as a fraction as 1/2 or as my decimal as 0.5. Later on in the week, you'll be dividing numbers by 10 and 100. When you're dividing numbers, you're splitting that number into equal parts. So, if you're dividing a number by 100, then you're going to be splitting that number into 100 parts that are all equal. Something to remember when dividing by 10 and 100 is if you're dividing by 10, you need to move all of your digits one place value over to the right. If you're dividing by 100, you need to move all of your digits 2 placeholders over to the right. There are some really good examples on the White Rose page, so have a little look at the video and it should explain everything you need to know.
A Native American's worldview is deep and intense and infused with spiritual meaning. When Coyote was a man, or, as Europeans might say, once upon a time, Native American folktales were an entirely oral tradition, which meant they were told through conversations and stories. This week, we would like you to read about the different Native American folklore and culture and create your very own comic strip. Create this comic strip from the perspective of a chief telling his tribe the story of the Spider Woman. Use your researching skills to help you find more information to help you fill your comic strip with lots of interesting facts.
If you have any questions at all, you can email us at year4@purfleetprimary.co.uk. Then either myself, Miss Walsh or Mrs Coldrick will get back to you to answer any questions you have. You can also send us some of your work if you'd like us to see it. We would love to see what you've been up to.
Until next time!
Keep up the great work.
And enjoy the warm weather.